ඉස්සෙල්ලා මම හිතන්නේ අපි වල පහන වතුරා නේ මෙතනනේ වාඩි වෙන්නේ හරි
ඔව්
නේ
ඔව්
එතකොට මේ කොහමද ඇංගල් එක මෙන්න මේ හරිය වගේ තිබ්බනම් පොල් තෙල් පහන පේනවද ඔයාලට
පොල් තෙල් පහන නෑ
නෑනේ නේ මෙන්න මෙතන තමයි වාඩි වෙන්නේ
මොකද්ද මේ සර්
ටේබල් එක කතා කරන්නේ
එන්නේ
මෙන්න
නෑ සර් මේක ලයිව් යනවා මේක හරවන්න බෑනේ සර් orientation rotate device back
හරි
හරි
හරි ඉතින් නිර්මාණ මෙන්න මේ හරියට
බලන්න මිස් මට එවල තිබ්බේ ඊයේද
ඊයේ මම රිහර්සල් එකෙන් පස්සේ නෙක්ස්ට් එක ගෙවුවා. සල් ෆයිල්මෙන් වලින් AC එනවා. ෆස්ට් එක කියන්නේ.
බලන්න ඒක පස්සේ මෙයා කරුනේ පස්සේ අර ටික අහුණා නම් යන්න අනිත් දෙකම දාන්න
මට හිතෙන්නේ දැන් ફોකස් කරන්න
හා අහමදා
ටේබල් එක නෙමෙයි
පොල් තෙල් පහන තියෙන
දන්නවනේ ඔය පිළිවෙත් දෙක කට්ටිය එනවා ඇතුළට ඇවිල්ලා එක්ක මෙතන වාඩි වෙනවා හරිද වාඩි වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ පොල් තෙල් පහන යනවා ඊට පස්සේ තමයි ඔය කතා කරන්නේ හෙට් ටේබල් එකට ඒකලා හෙට් ටේබල් එකට ඉන්නේ නැහැ සාමාන්‍යයෙන්
මේ පැත්තට තිබ්බ නම් හරි
ඔව් ඒක හරිද පොල් තෙල් පහන මේ ටිකේ තමයි ફોකස් වෙන්නේ
ඔයාගේ එක බලන්න ටයිම් ටේබල් එකේ තියෙන
මම දන්න විදිහට ඉඳලා වෙන්නේ හරිද
මේක බලන්න දැන්
කොහොමද
ඔයාගේ කීයද තියෙන්නේ බලන්න නෑ ඔයා පෙන්නේ ගහන්න මේ ගහලා වලට सेशन की लंच के टाइम पे बस मेरी से इधर हाँ फर्स्ट के था
ඉතින් මේක අන්නෝන පොයින්ට් එක මේක අතින් ගාන ඒකට වාන්නේ
नहीं मोया से फाइन मोया सेशन ඔයාගේ නමින් නම දාන්න. ඔය අංකේ කම්පරෙන් NILIS. දැන් මම සම්පූර්ණ නමින් සම්පූර්ණ
සිෂන් කීයද තියෙන්නේ
අයි සෙෂන් මේ මොනිටර් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඔයමයි දෙන්න මෙකේ
හරිනේ
මේ හරි දැන ගන්න දාන්න
ටෙක්නිකල් වන්
ඔයාගේ ටෙක්නිෂියන් වන්නේ තමයි ඒක දෙනවා
හා හා
ඔයාගේ වන්නේ කියලා.
මිස්කි වන්න කියලා තියෙනවා පෝස්ට් සෙෂන් එක කමන්නේ.
මම කියන්නේ ඔය අන්තිම මෙහාට නෙමෙයි කියන එක.
පොඩිලා දාන්න. එනවා වගේ නේද?
saya patu කරගන්නේ පතු කරලා දෙන්න කමන්න අපේ ඉන්න සර්වර්
අනේ නිර්මලමේ කොපි කරලා තියෙන පේස් කරන්න හරි දැන්.
nanti ke tidak
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to please rise from your seats as the dignitaries have they are on the way.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to you all. We are very happy to receive all of you here at the NILIS Research Symposium 2025, where brilliant minds gathering to exchange ideas and inspiring each other. Innovative libraries, inclusive communities, building bridges through knowledge is the theme of the symposium this year, highlighting the pressing need for academic libraries to adapt to a rapidly changing library setup and to become more sustainable in their operations and services.
Ladies and gentlemen, over the next few hours, this year's symposium will provide you with plenty of opportunity to discuss policies and procedures, challenges and trends, and of course, share knowledge and insights. So on behalf of NRS 2025, we would like to wish each one of you a pleasant and a fruitful time today at this assembly. First, in keeping with tradition, may I kindly invite the following dignitaries to light the oil lamp. Chief guest, Professor Indika Karnatilaka, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo. Keynote speaker, Professor Eric Steinhua, Director, University Library, Fern University in Hagen, Germany. Keynote speaker, Dr. Mudita Senaratyapa, Director General, National Initiative for Research and Development Commercialization, Sri Lanka. Professor Ruan Gamage, Director, NILIS.
And we'll continue with the invitees to light the oil lamp, Dr. S. Kediswaran, Co-Chair, Professor Samudra Senaratne, Dean Education, representing Deans and Directors of University of Colombo, Mrs. K.C.S. Pereira, Registrar of UOC, Ms. J.T.L. Dharmasena, Bursar of University of Colombo, Professor Pratibha Mahanama Heva, Rector, Sri Bali Campus, Senior Professor O.G. Dayaratna Banda, Chairman, NILIS Board of Management, Dr. P.K.S. Manatunga, Acting Librarian of University of Colombo,
Representing National Science Foundation, Dr. Sepalika Sudasingha, Director General, National Science Foundation, Engineer T.M.R. Disanayaka, Head of the Research Division, Principal Scientific Officer, Mr. M.P.W. Karnaratna, Head of the Division, Principal Information Officer, National Science Foundation, Dr. Nadira Rupasingha, Director General, Department of National Archives, Mr. W. Sunil, Director General, National Library and Documentation Services Board, Mr. Sugat Gunatilaka, President, Sri Lanka Library Association, Ms. Varuni Gangabadarachi, Librarian, Colombo Public Library, representing librarians in public sectors, representing past directors, NILIS, Mr. Upali Amarasiri, Dr. Prasanna Ranavira, representing Board of Management and Academic Committees, NILIS, Professor Nimal Punyasiri, Chair Professor of Biochemistry, Dr. H.M.S.C. Herat, Department of History, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of California, Mr. J.M. Herat Banda, Director, Department of National Budget, Ministry of Finance, Planning Dr. Anupam Veerappan, Ms. T.M. Saniratna, and Ms. Chiroma Benuragama, Manager, Library and Information Services, British Council, and on behalf of NILIS staff, Mrs. S. Vikramanayaka, Mrs. Sivarasa, and one representative on behalf of participants. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I take the pleasure of inviting May I kindly ask you to be seated, ladies and gentlemen, and we will proceed with the welcome note. May I officially call upon Professor Ruan Gamage, Director of NILIS, to welcome the gathering.
This pleasant morning, and I know that all the dignitaries have come here to honor the inauguration of the symposium. So I will not take much time, because actually some of our dignitaries want to leave early because of other commitments. So I welcome our chief guest, Professor Indika Mahesh Karunatilaka, the Vice Chancellor of University of Colombo, and Professor Eric Steinhauer. Am I correct in pronouncing your name? One of the keynote speakers, and the other keynote speaker also, Dr. Mudita Senratyapa, for spending time for their contribution in the valuable contribution in this symposium. And also I welcome all the guest speakers, all the invitees, and the participants, and all the organizing committee members who have tirelessly spent their time, spend their energy to organize this event, and all the participants, volunteers, NILIS staff, everybody. So without taking much time, I will just hand over to the other proceedings, because we are waiting to listen to the speeches by our chief guest and then the keynote speakers. Thank you very much.
Okay, may I invite our dignitaries to the head table. Our chief guest, Professor Indika Mahesh Karunatilaka, the Vice Chancellor of University of Colombo. Keynote speaker, Professor Eric Steinhauer, Director, University Library, Fern University in Hagen, Germany. Keynote speaker, Dr. Mudita Senratyapa, Director General, National Initiative for Research and Development Commercialization, Sri Lanka, and Professor Ruan Gamage, Director NILIS. Please, gentlemen, to the head table.
This is my kind invitation to the chief guest, Professor Indika Karunatilaka, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Everyone. Vanakkam. Assalamu alaikum. Professor Ruan Gamage, the Director of the National Institute for Library and Information Sciences, Professor Prasanna Ranavira, the former Director, Professor Eric Steinhauer, John Morgan, welcome to Sri Lanka, welcome to University in Colombo, Dr. Chair, Professor Samta Senath, the Dean, Faculty of Education, Mr. Upali Amatsiri, the Director of the National Library and the National Archives, all the distinguished inviters, guest professors, researchers. I'm indeed proud to be here and delighted to be here due to many reasons. Firstly, NILIS is a proud member of the University of Colombo family for many decades, many years. As an institute, has played a major role in the university's progress towards its development and more in the terms of university's recognition as the top ranked university in Sri Lanka and one of the top universities in this region. Personally, I am delighted to be here. Sometimes you might not know that Professor Wangami and I have been known for many decades again from the school days. So it's a pleasure to be here, one, and indeed privilege. Mr. Mudita Sendatyapa, it's a privilege to welcome you. I think both of us have the same commitment today, but great to see you here and your contribution and support. It's a very important event in the calendar of NILIS, and it's notable to see that the first symposium was in 2009, and since then, up to 2025. So it's not a mean achievement. And every symposium was conducted with an appropriate theme. And this time's theme on innovations, inclusive communities are very appropriate. We live in the era of fourth industrial revolution. We live in the era of artificial intelligence. Gone are the days where the libraries were just repositories of books. Now we are thinking about using technology not only as repositories of knowledge, but sharing information, sharing knowledge, and sharing correct knowledge. That is very important nowadays with the advent of social media. The information is doubling in an unprecedented rate. It is doubling in an exponential rate. In the past, it would have taken maybe 100 years for information to double. But sometimes it can happen nowadays within hours. So we are living in a world that's full of information. In this era, the responsibility and the scope of the library sciences and the information sciences has expanded. How to provide accurate information, how to provide correct information, just in time, just for you. That becomes the national responsibility of ours. So I'm sure this conference will go a long way in mapping out our way forward in this new era. We are heading towards a journey of collaboration, collaborative learning, collaborative work. Once again, I thank the organizing committee, the director for organizing this great initiative and wish you all the very best. I will have to apologize in advance that I might not be able to stay for the whole duration because of some national commitments. Same with Mr. Mudisembadhyapa. Still, I'm sure the deliberations will mark the next way forward, next step in improving the information technology, information sciences, and how we can develop together for the progress of not only the university, but the nation. Once again, thank you very much. Wish you all the very best.
Following those precious and inspiring words, may I invite Professor Ruan Gamage, Director NILIS, to present the token of appreciation to the chief guest. Thank you, sir. Next, we move on to the launch of the symposium proceedings. I kindly invite our chief guest, Professor Indika Karunatilaka, Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, to launch the electronic version of the symposium proceedings. Thank you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the first keynote of the day, a moment that promises to set the tone for the symposium. I kindly invite Mrs. Krishanti Sivalingam, Eastern University, Trincomalee campus, to read out the citation of our keynote speaker.
Good morning, esteemed guests, respected scholars, and valued participants. It's my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Mudita Senarathiyappa, a distinguished scientist and visionary leader who has made remarkable contribution to Sri Lanka's scientific, industrial, and innovative landscape. Dr. Senarathiyappa completed his secondary education at Royal College, Colombo, and earned his Bachelor of Science Special Degree in Chemistry with first class honors from the University of Sardinia. He later obtained his Doctor of Philosophy in Analytical Chemistry from University of Arizona, Tucson. Following his doctoral studies, Dr. Senarathiyappa undertook 2 years of postdoctoral research at the Art Conservation Research Center, Carnegie Mellon University, Pennsylvania, before taking up a position there as an assistant scientist. He later returned to Sri Lanka to serve at the Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, first as a senior scientist and later as business development manager, where he worked to bridge laboratory research with commercial outcomes. In 2012, he joined John Hills Holdings to establish John Hills Research, the conglomerate's innovation arm. As head of research, he led the organization for nearly a decade, driving initiatives that apply science and technology to develop innovative products and future-ready technologies. His work has consistently demonstrated how scientific knowledge can be translated into practical, high-impact innovations that benefits both industry and society. At present, Dr. Senarathiyappa serves as the Director General of the National Initiative for Research and Development Commercialization and as Chief Innovation Officer of the National Innovation Agency. He also serves on several key national bodies, including the National Science and Technology Commission, the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, and Board of Directors of Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, contributing his expertise to shape national policy, innovation strategy, and scientific advancement. Throughout his career, Dr. Senarathiyappa has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to applying science for sustainable development and national progress. His leadership continues to inspire scientists, innovators, and policymakers across disciplines. So, it is now a great honor to invite Dr. Mudita Senarathiyappa to deliver his keynote address titled Bridging Knowledge and Community Innovation as the Driver of Inclusion. Dr. Yapa, the podium is yours.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Ruan, who is my classmate. Apparently, I just got to know your VC also my classmate. We were in the same classes, and he invited me to this speak. One thing I feel like a duck, basically a fish out of water, basically, because these are librarians. I'm a scientist. I've only used libraries, but anyway. I will give you my perspective of what librarians can do for our country, not just our country, but for all information sciences. So I used to read a lot. Even when I was little, my father had a big book collection. I used to read. But in those days, I didn't realize, I had like books at home, but then once I finished most of it, even though I know one of my cousin brothers once told me that I read books which are beyond my age because they were available, I just read. But then I realized I don't have money to buy new books, but then I found libraries. I went to public library, I went to British Council, went to American Center, all these different libraries and borrowed books and read. When Ruan invited me to this speech, and the word innovation is also there, I was wondering, concept of libraries is already an innovation. Who printed books? Even we were just talking with Professor Eric, he mentioned that early books were free, but then they start costing. But somebody came up with this idea, buying one book can be read by many people, and there is a system of providing service. So this is, I was thinking about this whole thing, like, why do I have to talk about innovation to librarians? Because they are already part of, they are already part of a big innovative movement in the world. So anyway, so I'm a scientist. This topic was very complicated to me when I read it. So what I did was I scientifically broke it down to different pieces and first understood what I'm going to be talking about. So I searched Google basically. But anyway, this definition of innovation is something which I really like because it actually captures what innovation is about. It's about bringing in a positive impact which can be converted into money or not. If it is a social innovation, it might be a positive impact in the social sense, but it transforms creative concept into tangible outcomes where efficiency, effectiveness, and all address unmet needs. Then I also asked Google, what is community innovation? According to Google, it's a collaborative process where members, leaders, organizations work together to create new local solutions for shared challenges. Then why inclusion is important? I knew this, but I wanted to get some format, some structured formatting to the things I knew. Actually, inclusion is one of the most important things in innovation because for innovation you need different perspectives. Uh, in the previous era, one lonesome like guy like Einstein could do changes, but the current era which we are living in, a lot of different subjects, areas overlap to bring about change. So enhance mental, emotional well-being is one thing for an individual, promote sense of belonging, foster growth and learning. These are basically for an individual. But even for an organization, it increases creativity and innovation. So So people usually say, look at the 360 view. I want to add it as a 4 pi steradian view because you have to look at from like a sphere. You are looking at the center like a sphere, right? Circle is a two-dimensional diagram, but we live in a three-dimensional world. So you have to look at problems from all angles and all aspects if you are trying to do something new. Boost productivity, last two could be like business related importance. Then I also asked knowledge, community, innovation towards inclusion, how we can, knowledge and community innovation, how we can promote inclusion using that. So develop relevant, effective, accessible solution, context-specific knowledge, as well as community design. Did you know that this mobile banking came about because Kenyan women wanted it, because women entrepreneurs wanted banking solutions in rural areas. So mobile banking concept started. So sometimes community can lead different designs where they get the service or the product they want. Then empower marginalized communities because of, by inclusion. Shift power dynamics, build capacity, foster rural engagement, basically overcome resistance and shared ownership, drive systematic changes, addressing inequality, target root causes as well as broaden the perspective. So by combining knowledge and community innovation, you can bring about these things. So from now that I understand the topic which I am going to be talking to you about, so these are the things which I am going to suggest to you as librarians that you should do. First thing is, you should be democracy's keeper. Basically, our democracy, not only in Sri Lanka, but all over the world is challenged by misinformation, which we had a quick discussion, where getting correct information to people is your responsibility. I know it's a very large responsibility, but you have to do it because there's no other way of fighting misinformation or fake news. We are in an AI era. Even somebody can video me and create a totally different speech from my voice, and somebody can believe it. And I'm pretty sure you have seen President Obama's videos that he's talking about, and even President Trump's videos. Either way, whether you support Obama or Trump, it doesn't really matter if you are giving misinformation. Then community-centered, technology-enabled. Technology solution, I'm not asking you to do technology as a solution. Use technology as a tool. Solution should be coming from you. Then in Sri Lanka, we have this linguistic and cultural divide. Bridge that. We want one country, in our national anthem, we say, but are we? Then collaborative innovation ecosystem, which you can promote, because people get attracted to libraries, maybe not anymore, but you have to figure out new ways of getting people to come to you. Then future ready through adaptive capacity. I know this is a huge challenge, which even for scientists like me, keeping up with technology changes is difficult. So I know some of you are well versed with technology, some may not, but you have to bring capacity up for everybody. So this is something, these 5 things I think you can probably do innovatively to get communities engaged and also create inclusion. So I found this cartoon. These are also, actually libraries are not included. They are also, we have to promote inclusion because that generation doesn't know what libraries are. So this mom is saying, it's a library, honey, kind of an early version of World Wide Web. Right. So I found this paper, which I will give you the link. I they have summarized about 21 different papers. This is refugees inclusion in public libraries. But I like this model because they have talked about socio-cultural inclusion, political inclusion, economic inclusion, and cognitive inclusion. And they have given a framework. And you can go into details. Unfortunately, I also have to run to the same event which Professor Indika led. So I've got to very quickly finish this. That's why I actually overtook Professor Eric and gave my speech first. So this is the link for that particular. This is the link for that article. I think it's a pretty good article. I read most of it. I'm not claiming that I read the whole thing, but I like that framework they are presenting, and I think that can be used as a solution for you to start achieving inclusion using community innovations and knowledge. Okay, thank you very much. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that illuminating speech. And may I invite Dr. Prasanna Ranavira NILIS to present the token of appreciation to the keynote speaker, Dr. Mudita Senaratyapa.
Sorry, I have to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is our second keynote address. Our second keynote speaker is a visionary leader in his field, and I kindly invite Dr. Prasanna Ranavira NILIS to read out the citation of our second keynote speaker for the day.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Guten Morgen, sir. Welcome to Sri Lanka and NILIS, University of Colombo. It's my great pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Eric Wilhelm Steinhauer, Director of the University Library of the Fern University of Hagen, Germany, Honorary Professor at the Institute for Library and Information Science, Humboldt University in Berlin, and Permanent Research Fellow at the Center for Advanced Study, Access to Cultural Goods in Digital Change at the University of Münster. Professor Eric leads one of the Germany's largest university libraries, serving more than 70,000 distance learning students. In addition to this, his leadership role, he teaches at Humboldt University in Berlin, focusing on library science, copyright, and media law. He also serves as the member and spokesperson of the National Ombudsman Committee for Research Integrity in Germany. Professor Eric has pursued a remarkably diverse academic background, a study in law, Catholic theology, political science, and education at the University of Münster and the University of Hagen, where he earned his Doctor of Laws degree. He also served as the head of the Department of Media Processing at Humboldt University. He is also known for his engaging lectures on cultural studies of the morbid, including his popular Halloween lecture series. His primary research and teaching interests include cultural memory and scientific work in the digital age, cultural and information law, library and copyright law, and morbid library studies. As a lawyer, librarian, and scholar, Professor Eric is a leading advocate for open access to scientific information, hybrid pursuing models that integrate print and digital dissemination, and reform of German library legislation. His contributions have significantly influenced copyright reform, digital library policy, and information ethics in German and also globally. He has authored over 420 publications, including books, monographs, and research papers, and has delivered around 250 presentations in both German and English. His wide-ranging expertise and collaborative work make him a distinguished and respected voice in the global fields of library science, copyright law, and digital scholarship. Currently, as a permanent research fellow at the University of Munster, Professor Eric is conducting comparative research between Germany and Sri Lanka, exploring legal frameworks for digital access to library content and cultural resources in the digital era. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Eric, our distinguished keynote speaker. It's over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here, dear colleagues. And I'm very happy to be the second keynote speaker because the Vice Chancellor has said one remarkable thing. Information is so big these days and it's doubling within hours. That means doubling where? Printed? No, it's online. The second keynote, the first keynote speaker, Dr. Mutita, used heavily Google and definitions from the internet. This is fine, but one question is, these definitions in 50 years, where will they be? As printed material, the answer is easy, in the library. But what is with online content? This is my topic now, cultural memory, the core mission for libraries and archives in the internet age. So today, I want to address digital cultural memory and the vital responsibility this task places upon libraries and archives. Libraries possess a long tradition of collecting books. Over time, these collections naturally take on the character of a cultural memory. This happens because important historical works are constantly reprinted and remain available, or because older, non-current books provide us with an impression of how people thought and formulated their ideas decades or even centuries ago. Historically, libraries, in their core role, have always striven for completeness. Their traditional aim has been to document the knowledge of their time and the knowledge of the world as fully as possible. In earlier eras, where the canon of classics was manageable, completeness was certainly an achievable goal. However, as the volume of published books grew exponentially, achieving the goal of actually acquiring and collecting every single book became progressively more difficult. The library, acting as a memory institution, faced its first major challenge with the advent of industrial book printing around 1850. This technology shift coincided closely with the rise of a new media form, the press, especially newspapers. Newspapers started appearing daily, sometimes in multiple editions and simultaneously in numerous locations. This flood of material meant that libraries could practically no longer collect everything while maintaining their ideal of completeness. Although libraries attempted to collect extensively, the traditional notion of collecting printed matter began to reach its limits at this point. The greatest challenge facing cultural memory, however, is arguably occurring now, driven by the rise of the internet. Before the digital age fully matured, even if institutions couldn't collect everything, anything considered relevant was still somehow available in printed form, making it collectible and documentable. This situation created by the internet is fundamentally different. The internet, especially since the introduction of social media and mobile connectivity, has become the dominant medium of our time. The first keynote speaker was a very good example of this. Crucially, much of what is currently discussed and what happens today is initially published online. If this content finds its way to classical printed media at all, it is often only after a significant delay. Therefore, if an institution intends to remain a memory institution with the mission of documenting the past comprehensively, it must face the critical task of transmitting the internet to posterity in a suitable way. When we consider the internet, we encounter what can be described as the digital paradox. On the one hand, a tremendous amount of content is immediately accessible to everyone, leading many users to feel they no longer require an institution like a library for access. But what is often overlooked is that in perhaps 5 or 10 years, these contents may no longer be available in the same form. The fundamental question then becomes, where do we find this information? For a book no longer available in bookstores, the answer is straightforward. We visit a library. This is decisively not the case with a web page, particularly not with content from social media. Preserving these contents for subsequent generations is therefore a monumental task. While existing private initiatives like the Internet Archive, maybe you have seen this Internet Archive, are vast and contain much content that has gone offline, national or regional memory institutions cannot rely solely on them. Memory institutions, especially national or regional libraries, typically have a clear, often regularly defined collection focus, content from a specific nation or region. If a memory institution wishes to remain relevant, it is essential that it independently collects, preserves, and makes accessible online content that relates to or originates from its defined region without relying solely on external actors. When embarking on the collection of online content, institutions immediately face 3 major problem circles. The first is technology. How to technically capture the content and, more importantly, ensure its long-term archiving. The second challenge is legal issues. These legal questions are sometimes quite complicated, I will explain. And The third challenge is content selection, professionally determining what should actually be collected. The long-standing idea from the print era to collect everything that is printed no longer applies in the digital context. Classic book printing is expensive, which already constitutes a significant selection mechanism, making the very existence of a book a certain factor of relevance. This cannot be said for online content, where publishing costs nothing and where much content of questionable value exists. Therefore, we need extensive professional discussion to determine what constitutes a reasonable cultural memory in the digital age. Regarding the first challenge, technology, discussions about archiving often revolve around technical matters, software, servers, things like that. In my view, these are rather uninteresting questions. They are primarily solvable through funding, which is difficult, I know, and standard technological know-how. The first keynote speaker correctly said technology is a tool. The second problem, the second challenge, the legal challenge, represents a remarkable change that must be understood when memory institutions operate digitally. Traditionally, libraries collect physical objects, books, journals, newspapers. The crucial legal question a library seeks to obtain is ownership. Ownership is the legal foundation for all standard library activities, including lending, storage, cataloging. A book is special because, besides being a physical object, it contains a work, which signifies a personal intellectual creation in the language of copyright. Thus, beside the object ownership, there is also intellectual property associated with the work. We have this object and we have intellectual property both in one item. When we purchase a physical book, this item, we are free to do what we want with this object, with this item we have purchased. Typically, copyright law grants precedence to the object ownership. When the physical embodiment of the work piece, has been lawfully acquired, the intellectual property must recede concerning the subsequent handling of that specific object. If the library passes the book on, the legal system states that the right of distribution related to that concrete object is extinguished or exhausted. The critical takeaway is that when dealing with printed books, institutions generally do not need to concern themselves with intellectual property or copyright law problems. It's your book and you can do whatever you want with this item. Online publications are incorporeal works, works without a body, intangible works. They exist merely as a stream of data. They are always accessed or perceived via a copy. If a user reads an e-book, a copy is generated on their device. This process is defined not as distribution in the language of copyright, but as reproduction, which is a different exploitation right. Furthermore, making this work accessible online to the public is termed public communication or making available to the public. Both reproduction and making available to the public are exploitation rights belonging to the author or the right holder, mostly the publisher. This doctrine of exhaustion only takes effect if there is an embodiment, an object of the work. Since online content is not embodied, exhaustion does not occur. The consequence is profound. Intellectual property, copyright, remains perpetually relevant for those this kind of content. If a library wants to collect a freely accessible ebook, for example, the act of downloading it onto its systems is considered reproduction, which is an infringement upon copyright. Long-term archiving often requires frequent copying, sometimes modification, which are also acts of reproduction. Making the work accessible to users via the repository or on a screen within the library premises infringes on copyright exploitation rights. These infringements can only be justified in two ways. First is licensing or contractual agreements. Obtaining permission from rights holders, often via open licenses like Creative Commons. Your book that here for the conference is licensed via Creative Commons, so no problems. Nice move. Allowing lost storage, long-term archiving, and accessibility. But concluding specific contracts with publishers and rights holders is often very laborious. You see, if you buy physical books from publisher Elsevier, publisher Springer, publisher Wiley, whatever, after you have bought the book, it doesn't matter which publisher. It's your book, it's your shelf, it's your library, and you can do whatever you want with those books. But if it's an ebook from Elsevier, an ebook from Springer, ebook from Wiley, you have different platforms, different conditions, different terms to meet, very difficult to give a common user experience to this content. The second way to justify copyright infringements are legal exceptions in the Copyright Act. Libraries like this way very much because there is one solution for a lot of problems. We like legal exceptions. In Germany, although the mandate to collect online media was formalized in 2006, the legislator did not realize or address the necessity of these copyright exceptions until 2018. Imagine this, 2018. Before 2018, the German National Library could only collect content that rights holders willingly deposited. This clearly illustrates that the old legal order designed for printed works does not seamlessly fit the online age. The cultural memory amassed by libraries through books was historically organized around the principle of completeness or totality. Mandatory deposit laws, legal deposit laws, ensured a collection that was complete as possible at a national level. However, this totality of collection is senseless in the age of the internet. Selection is mandatory not only due to the scale, but also because not everything online is worthy of collection. We must design collection guidelines for digital cultural memory. I think three key criteria or collection levels can be sketched here. The first level, digital counterparts of traditional works. These are known print age works like books, newspapers, journals that now exist as online versions, e-books, e-journals, and so on. These should be collected in the same manner as their printed equivalents. The goal is to trace the change in media formats and prevent any break in the collection history. Second level, unique online content. This category includes content that exists solely online, such as web blogs, wikis, and social media. Since we cannot collect everything here, the imperative is to select a representative sample of these works. You see, this is the approach of archives, not of libraries. Libraries are collecting everything. We are the messies of the printed age, but the people in the archives, They are throwing away more or less everything and have only a little piece of the whole content. Normally in Germany, an archive only collects, I think, 5% of documents, representative documents in the most cases. And now the third level is, I call it the big vacuum cleaner approach. That means collecting everything like a giant vacuum cleaner to the internet, sucking up everything and storing it somewhere. The idea, sometimes used by intelligence agencies, is to analyze the massive data reservoir later when questions arise. Such a total collection demands enormous technical capacity and is likely beyond the capability of traditional libraries. In focusing on the first two collection categories, digital counterparts of traditional works and unique online content, gaps inevitably arise, particularly because unique online content is only captured representatively. In the world of physical objects, private individuals accumulate remarkable collections. Often, these collections find their way into public institutions as a donation when they cannot be managed by peers, for example. This type of donation is a very welcome form of acquisition for public institutions, allowing them to close older gaps and acquire items they did not purchase initially, but which are now recognized as valuable. Could this practice be transferred to online content? We all maintain cloud storage or collections of downloads on our devices. For example, a person collects screenshots and documents related to a specific event and wishes to donate a huge smart drive to the library. The law is generally very restrictive when it comes to transfer of copies to a public institution. But the digital world feels entirely connected and instantly exchangeable, think of social media, between private individuals. There are immediate difficulties once the process becomes public. The law is still not well configured for this kind of exchange. This means that while private collecting practices still exist in the online age and could fill institutional gaps, legally, these private collections can no longer be simply integrated into public collections unless the appropriate legal frameworks are specifically created. In conclusion, memory institutions must concern themselves with online content. If they do not, they risk becoming purely historical media collections. If they wish to maintain current relevance and avoid a discontinuity in their collecting activities, they must open themselves up to digital content published online. This undertaking is technically challenging, but it is solvable, albeit associated with costs. Furthermore, it requires suitable legal framework. This is important, and this is not the case. Not in Germany, and I think even the same problem is in Sri Lanka. Above all, a sound concept is needed. We must define what digital cultural memory should encompass, what should be collected and what should not. All these aspects must flow into a comprehensive collection concept. Only after developing this concept, we can meaningfully ask, what does the current legal system permit and what needs to be changed to make our concept goals possible? I believe that as a memory institution, we should act self-confidently in this process because we are fulfilling a public interest. The maintenance of memory. Finally, the necessary technical prerequisites must be established to sustainable implement the collecting guidelines and ideas that we have developed. This is a large and challenging task that lies ahead of us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor. Following that enlightening speech, may I invite Professor Ruan Gamage, Director NILIS, to present the token of appreciation to our keynote speaker, Professor Eric Steinhofer. Ladies and gentlemen, with that gratitude being expressed, let's move on to a brief presentation of American Center e-Library. Since there is no representative, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move to the vote of thanks. We have now come to the end of the inaugural ceremony, and to conclude this ceremony, may I invite the symposium secretary, Mrs. Dilhani Munsingha, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nishaya. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my distinct honor and privilege as a conference secretary to deliver the vote of thanks on the occasion of NILIS Annual Research Symposium 2025. First and foremost, we extended our profound gratitude to our chief guest, Professor Indika Mahesh Karunatilaka, Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo. Your presence, extreme presence to inaugurate this symposium has been a great honor and a source of inspiration. We are deeply in debt to our distinguished keynote speakers for their insightful addresses. Our sincere thanks to Professor Eric Steinhofer, Director of the University of Library at Fern University Hagen, Germany. Dr. Mudita Senarathappa, Director General of the National Initiative and Research and Development Commercialization, Sri Lanka. We also extend our sincere appreciation to our esteemed invited speakers because we have 5 invited talks after this inaugural session. Professor Clara Chu, Director of the Moonstone Center for International Library Programs, University of Illinois, USA. Dr. Constina Matsko, Associate Professor of Course Leader, and Robert Gordon University, United Kingdom. Though Professor Chu and Matsko could not be with us in person, we are truly grateful for their dedication and valuable virtually contribution. Dr. Nalaka Lankasena, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Computing, University of Jayawardhanapura, Sri Lanka. And also our special thanks goes to Dr. M.M. Masrufa, Senior Assistant Librarian, Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. A special note of thanks to reserve for Professor Ruan Gamage, Director of the NILIS and Chair of this symposium. Your visionary leadership and steadfast guidance have been cornerstone of this event's success. Also, I would like to thank co-chair of the NRS 2025, Dr. S. Ketheeswaran, for their unwavering support throughout the session. We gratefully acknowledge the meticulous work of the editorial committee led by Dr. Anoma Virakwan and her team. And our thank also goes to organizing committee for their tireless efforts in orchestrating this complex event. The success of an academic symposium rests on the foundation of rigorous peer review. We are therefore profoundly thankful to our panel of reviewers, judges, and session chairs for their invaluable scholarly contribution. To our distinguished invitees, delegates, authors, and presenters, thank you for your participation, which is the very lifeblood of this symposium. Authors and presenters, you are the architect of the future. The research you publish and the presentations you deliver are not merely reports of the person, but the critical framework that will guide and transform our industry for years to come. Thank you for building that future with us here today. We wish to extend our particular gratitude to Faculty of Education under the leadership of Dean Professor Samudra Senarath, and with the invaluable support of Deputy Registrar Ms. Thalatha Ekanayaka. Their generosity and providing this event venue was the foundational element that made NRS 2025 possible. This commitment for the fostering academic discourse was evident in their seamless facilitation and unwavering support. Behind the scheme, the dedication of the IT committee, the contribution were vital to the seamless execution of this project, and we sincerely thank them for their dedication and cooperation. Our special thank goes to former director Dr. Prasanna Ranavira for his support was the one of cornerstone of this this event. And also a senior assistant librarian, Mr. Udita Lahakon, his commendable support also should be admired. Senior assistant registrar of the NILIS, Ms. S. Sivarasa, and senior assistant Bursa, Ms. F. C. Vikramanayaka. Cooperation were instrumental in facilitating administrative and financial process, significantly contributing to the success of this endeavor. Also, our heartfelt gratitude extend to the entire NILIS team. The success of this event is a direct result of your immense collective effort. And while much of your work happened behind the screen, its impact was felt by everyone in the seamless flow of each activity. And the British Council and the American Center for Demos today did not, they won't be able to come, I think. So thank you for your representation. And also I would like to give my thanks to two compeers, my colleagues, for coloring this event today. And all participants, we thank you for being here today. Hope you enjoy the remaining program of intellectual exchange. Volunteers and well-wishers. Thank you.
You don't need a group of superstars. You need a team working together to bring you better results. Once again, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the participants and speakers for being a part of this transformative event. Let's embark on this remarkable journey together and make the most of the opportunities that lie ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the inaugural session. Let's reassemble here shortly after 10 minutes for technical sessions. So have a great day ahead. Thank you.
But not enough actually. Now it is the correct time. This is the time that we have in addition.
Lanka with the Melbourne will be yeah, you will have Manager the Kavan Samedi good morning, Sela. තේනානේ ඉන්නවද that's fine there come ඒක මම කියන්න දැම්මෝ මට තියෙන ලන්ච් එකෙන් පස්සේද Makan क्या करना कस्टमर नहीं करेगा ना After a long day. It's changing.
One side, carbon hours.
All the chance we have.
It's good. Then why you don't appoint?